Good morning, road runners. This is Time of Hope, and I'm currently walking along this trail, aptly named the Hobbit Trail. If any of you have ever seen The Lord of the Rings, if you haven't, I invite you to read the books first, and then watch the movies. This little trail, aptly named Hobbit Trail, reminds you of the place where the hobbits live, which is the Shire. And I don't know, well, I'll just give you a little bit for those of you who don't know about the Lord of the Rings. The hobbits are some of the most kind and just, all around nice people in the fantasy world of J.R.R. Tolkien. And they live in the Shire. They live happily, living their lives, seeing their little families grow. They happen to be like super little people. And, they are kind of the representation of what's good in the world. And for those of you who don't know the themes of Lord of the Rings, it actually is the representation in a fantasy world, of an imaginary world, of the battle between good and evil. And I think that's some of the things that are the most difficult to talk about in our teaching of God's love, that there's so much evil that not only you get to see in the world if you ever watch the news, but that you also might encounter yourself, unfortunately. But God has given us hope for a world that will be much better than what we see today, are a world that's riddled with wars, hunger, devastation, discrimination, and I could go on, right? Pain, to say it in one single word. But I think that's why Christ's message, even after thousands of years, is still so valid. And there's so many people, as myself and all of your teachers and everybody who works at Mission, that hold on to this amazing promise of a better world, of a better life, of a world where the equilibrium of God's love will come back and bring us into the place where we will be happy, safe, and healthy. And as I walk through this beautiful, spectacular Hobbit Trail, I want to remind you, if you've already heard, and if you haven't heard, that as Seventh-day Adventists, the Adventist part of our name, your school is a Seventh-day Adventist school, and that Adventist part of our name has to do with the fact that we are in expectation. We are awaiting Christ coming. And look, this is one of the reasons they call this the Hobbit Trail. Only little people can get through there. But we'll continue through this section. And as God has promised something better, we also promise that to you as our students, that you can get an education in many other places, right? Your academic history, I mean, your academic experience could have been one that you could have taken up anywhere else. But God has brought you to our little corner of the world, to Calexico Mission School, because He has the intention of you knowing a little bit more about Him, and that when your life seems to run out of hope, that you remember that He has promised something better. And may it be something that you look forward to. So I just want to remind you, my dear Roadrunners, that God's intention for each and every one of us is to be in wonder of His love for us. And every time I am privileged with the opportunity to go out into nature, I'm reminded of that. I am reminded of His immense love for me, of how much I have received from His hand, how blessed I am to not only be your principal, and I want to say that because I take that responsibility very seriously, as some of you, have pointed out to me. But I want you to know that my sense of responsibility comes from the higher calling that I have. That means, yes, as a professional, I've accepted a responsibility, but my real responsibility comes from the fact that I believe in God's love for me, and I believe that He has called me and all of your teachers there to this place way out of, most of our ways. Like, I'm not from the area. There's a lot of teachers there who are not from the area, and He's called us there with the intention of not only giving us hope, but allowing us to share it with you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave you. I thought I might get to the sea before I can end this video, but it's already 8.5 minutes long. So I'll leave you with this. I want you to remember that in our expectation of Christ coming, that Advent is where our hope lies. So remember, there is always hope.